Hey everyone, in this video I'll demonstrate a very simple for loop in Java. So in our for loop we have three expressions. The first is initialization. This is where we're going to initialize a variable to act as the loop control variable. Typically in a for loop, if we're incrementing the loop control variable, it can also act as a counter. Then we have a termination expression. The termination expression determines when the for loop body is executed and when the for loop is done, so when it terminates. And then we're going to increment the loop control variable or decrement the loop control variable. Okay, so let's go ahead and type in some actual values here. So first, we'll declare a loop control variable I, and we'll initialize it to 0. Next, we'll create a termination expression. This will be some condition. If it evaluates to false, it'll jump. The next statement will be after the for loop. It'll jump out of the for loop. And then we want to increment the loop control variable or decrement the loop control variable. We can do that with I++ or I-, to add 1 or subtract 1 from that loop control variable. Now we can put as many statements as we want inside of the for loop body, which starts with this open curly brace and ends with this closed curly brace. I'll just put one statement for now. I'll just print the value of I. So I'll say print line value of I. And then just to show where it goes after the for loop, when that termination condition evaluates to false, I'll just put a print line statement to show that our for loop was successful. And I'll just put a unnecessary print line statement up here. Okay, so let's go ahead and I'm going to run this in debug mode. I am in debug perspective in Eclipse already. I'm going to right click in the line on the line where I want debug to break, and I'm going to toggle the breakpoint. I'm going to go ahead and run it in debug mode and then step into each of the statements here. Oh, that was nice. Okay, so here we go. First we're going to print beginning for loop, and you can see output in the console. And I'll be able to see any variables that we've declared in this variables window. So first time through, it's going to go ahead and it's going to initialize I. So you can see it created a variable I, and the value is 0. And it's going to print the value of I is 0. Again, we go back up to the for loop. We evaluate the condition. In this condition, I is equal to 0. Now we can see that I has been incremented. It's now equal to 1. And now we're going to go ahead and execute the system.out.println. You'll see the value of I1 in the output. And we're just going to loop through here till I is 2, I is 3, and now we have I equals 4. It's going to increment it and then try this termination condition. Since that termination condition evaluates to false, it's going to jump down to the systemout.println statement after the for loop. So it's this condition evaluated to false. So we skip the for loop body, we jump down to the end of the for loop, and then we continue on with execution of the rest of the program. It's going to output for loop successful, and our program is done. Notice that we do not see I, because in Java I is local to the for loop. So it's a simple for loop. Remember, we're going to initialize a loop control variable. We're going to have a termination expression which determines how many times the for loop body is executed, and then we're going to either increment or decrement that loop control variable. So 3 expressions, simple for loop, a simple way of executing statements several times. Thanks.